Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us at the MarketSite studio, we have Chad Anderson, SpaceX investor and managing partner with Space Capital, to discuss why space industries is going to be the backbone for the global economy. Chad, it's great to see you again. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Good to be here.
What's the outlook for investment in the space market for 2023?
Well, we think 2023 is going to be a difficult year for startups, but that overall the shift away from momentum investing to focus more on fundamentals is going to be an overall positive for the space economy. A bit of a thinning of the herd, if you will. 2021 was a massive year for technology investments generally in the private markets, and that was true for space companies as well. But so we saw a decline in 2022 as through the market downturn and as the Fed increased interest rates to sort of cool the economy, and that had an impact. And so we think that that's going to play forward into 2023 as well, especially as a lot of the companies that put off fundraising last year or come back to market this year. But in an economy like this, there's less competition. There's more talent that's available, particularly as we've seen with a lot of the tech layoffs and some of the big tech firms. And so, we think that this is going to be a good time to start a company and to invest in technology companies, and particularly space technology companies. I mean, as you mentioned in the opener, this is we view space technologies as the invisible backbone that powers our global economy. And so 2022 was really a showcase of the growing capabilities of commercial space companies. And we think that there's no putting that genie back in the bottle. This is a great opportunity for this year.
And you and I have spoken about this before, that this valuation reset needed to happen. Management teams needed to kind of come up to speed and understand fundamentals and operations a little bit more than just kind of assigning a value. So to your point, it kind of needed to happen. What do you see as the top trends that are shaping the space industry?
Well, defense is a big piece of it. So last year was really, like I mentioned, a showcase for commercial space capabilities. The Russian invasion of Ukraine really put a spotlight on the importance of Earth imaging companies. So as the market downturn really started to take hold, particularly in sort of the worst quarter in Q2, we were seeing record revenues for Earth imaging companies as governments were increasing their spending. Enterprises as well, as the world becomes more dynamic and uncertain, they want more information about what's happening, not less. And so, defense spending is going to be an increasingly important driver of the space economy. It always has been, but will continue to be going forward. And so, the Space Force, for example, has a $26 billion budget in 2023. It's $1.7 billion more than they requested that Congress gave them, and their budget's larger than NASA's now for the first time.
What should investors keep in mind before investing in space?
Well, so this is easy to be seduced by this category. There's a lot of really interesting things going on, but the space economy really kind of suffers from a trust problem. There's a lot of graphic renders of what might be. And there's a lot of companies that are raising, really on hype, particularly in 2021 when there was a lot of momentum investing going on. So a key indicator of this is what we call emerging industries. So this is the space stations, in-space manufacturing, asteroid mining, debris removal, these types of things. There is money being invested, and there are government contracts for these things. These markets are emerging, but they're still very early. Over the last 10 years, our data shows that there's been a little over $3 billion invested into these emerging industries. Not a lot of money. Half of that was invested in 2021 alone, most of it by venture capital firms that were investing in this category for the first time. So we think that there's going to be some really serious headwinds in this current market in 2023, and that some of those companies aren't going to make it. But if you focus only on these companies in emerging industries, which make up only 1% of overall activity in the space economy, you're going to miss the forest for the trees. Mm-hmm. The real opportunity here is in space technology stacks like GPS, geospatial intelligence, Earth imaging, and satellite communications, which makes up 90% of the value in the space economy today, and where there's a lot of enterprise and government spending now and will continue to be in the future, making it really counter-cyclical.
Does the macroeconomy and rising interest rates impact the space industry? I mean, of course, cost of capital is going to be more expensive. Does the macro impact it? And there are other challenges facing the industry outside of trust?
It certainly does. you know, we've seen how it immediately cooled the public markets, and that has an impact on private markets as well, because it affects the price that investors are willing to pay, because it affects the price at which they believe that they can exit. So it's really affected the late stage and growth stage in the private markets. We've seen that much more impacted, a lot of those valuations coming down drastically from the peaks in 2021. But we are very encouraged because in our data, while it shows that in 2022, total space economy investment was down 58% year over year, that was really in the latent growth stages. In the early stages, it's being, you know, very resilient. It was only down 4%, which means that a lot of these early companies are still getting funded. Great ideas are still getting out there and have a chance to prove their worth and see if they can make it to the next phase. But that's really the front end of the pipeline for what will be in the next handful of years in the space economy.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue across the VC when you're looking at a growth in later stage. That's not the space industry. It's probably indicative of multiple industries. Who are the biggest players? Companies, ETFs, stocks?
Well, so we've been operating in space for decades, but it's really only become a category for investment over the last 10 years, with SpaceX coming in and removing the barriers to entry, bringing low-cost orbital access to entrepreneurs and venture capital for the first time. So because we're only a decade into this, most of the action is still in the private markets. We have seen some companies begin to go public, particularly through SPACs in 2021. And so we are seeing some more names. We're seeing more banks, analysts covering this category. But really, most of the action is in the private markets. SpaceX dominates. We wouldn't even be talking about this as an investment category if it wasn't for them. And you know, they bucked the trend last year. They had their second largest capital raise, despite what was going on in the public and private markets. So you know, SpaceX is the apex player here, no doubt. But the infrastructure that they are investing in and building is enabling all kinds of new capabilities for new companies. And that's, as seed stage investors, that's really what we're looking to invest in.
Yeah, well, and it's a great way to wrap it up. Why does investing in space matter?
Again, space technologies are the invisible backbone that power our world's largest global industries. The timing of GPS powers our financial markets. Earth imaging companies are providing data to agriculture and insurance and construction industries. And satellite communications are not only keeping the Ukrainians connected throughout this Russian invasion, but it's also enabling our telecom and information technology industries here on Earth. This is an investment category with enterprise and government customers that are willing to pay regardless of market cycles.
All right, appreciate the insight as always, Chad. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.